This time on Rad Rat Video, we talk about the Fandangle, we talk about late inward heel flips, and a couple of other questions. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel where you can learn new things about skateboarding as often as I can do it. About once a week at this point, hopefully 2 and maybe back to 3 as soon as work slows down a little bit. But I've got a few questions to get to today. First one is from King Macer, or Macer, sorry, I don't know if that's a real name. Question is, hey Rad Rat, how did the no comply get its name? I do have a whole video about that if you want extreme detail about who was there, the names of everyone involved and dates and all that kind of stuff and pictures. Check that whole thing out. But quick answer for that is that it's kind of a dumb name that doesn't make sense. The point of it was like when they first saw it, it was sort of like a combination of does not compute and no comprende. But instead of saying either one of those, he said no comply, which doesn't make sense and is kind of just the wrong word. He just kind of misspoke in his reaction to seeing the trick, and it just stuck. It's been 30 years, we still call it the no comply, and it still makes just as little sense as it did back then. There are other stories about, kind of coming up with why it might mean that. You're not complying with the standards of gravity and stuff like that, but it seems like those stories have all kind of come after the fact to try to justify it. Fact is, it's just a nonsense name. That's all there is to it. But full story right there if you want more. Next question, Ben Seymour. Hey man, I've been loving the video since I found your channel. Just had a question about why skaters are listening to the worst music now. Like back in the day, what people would put in their edits would be all over the place. Now people just like the worst rap ever. What do you think changed? Well, I'll tell you what changed. The copyright status of trying to upload things online. I made a few parts back in the day. I used a Minus the Bear song, Coheed and Cambria, I forget other bands that I've used, but I would use legitimate, real music, and if it's your taste or not. The point is I could have picked anything and uploaded it, and it's fine. I could upload the video, I could make money off of that video being up back in the day. It's not like that now. So now everything has to be copyrights cleared, everything in writing. You got to upload documents when you upload a video to prove that you have the rights to the music that you use and all that kind of stuff. So now what a lot of people do is they'll just find free music that they don't have to credit and all that kind of stuff, and it ends up being just kind of generic. So it's not that it's rap, which is why it sucks. It's because it's free stuff that is available. So I know a couple of times when I've uploaded videos, I've had stuff where like Transroll would flag it and it would go down before it's even done processing, stuff like that. And I had to go back and take it out and swap out the clip and re-upload the video because it just gets flagged and taken down instantly. So you try to use a legit famous song that people would know, or even if you don't know it, but someone else owns it, your video's gonna go down. So that's why you don't see stuff like that now. The main spot for stuff to be uploaded is YouTube or Instagram, and both of those will block stuff that has copyrighted music. So that's probably the answer to your question. You might just not like modern music too, but I don't know. All right, next question is from Daniel. Is Mike Moe / Nyjah Huston's trick called a late pressure flip or a late inward heel flip? I've only seen them and Johnny Geiger do it. Also, why is a pressure inward heel flip just called a pressure flip? So this is the trick he's talking about. I was only able to find Nyjah Huston doing a half cab version of it, but just kind of subtract that out. You can see what he's doing. He pops the tail. He's goofy. So he pops the tail and then does like a pressure flip in the air. And so the question is that a late pressure flip? Is that a late inward heel flip? And it's just a late inward heel flip. It's not a pressure flip because you're not putting pressure on it. It's in the air. All late tricks are done with one foot. Normally your popping foot, whether it's front or back, but you pop the tail, you can do anything with that back foot and it counts as if you used both, if that makes any sense. So if you pop the tail, make the board kick flip, it's a late flip. Pop the board, make it do a backside shove it and a kick flip, it's a late varial flip, all that kind of stuff. So it's a late inward heel flip. If you call it a late pressure flip, it makes sense. People would probably understand, where that comes from, but more technically it'd be a late inward heel flip. But your other question is, why is the inward heel flip version called the pressure flip? I think that's because that was invented first. Hans Lindgren was doing them in like 1984 or something, and it's just kind of a really natural thing. Put your foot in a really basic spot where it's normally going to be, like a pressure hard flip. You got to be way over here. With a normal pressure flip, you're just like this. Put some pressure on it, and it does it. To do a straight one or do like a varial heel flip style pressure flip, those are a lot more advanced. The technique is a lot different, more further away from the normal tricks. So I think just a standard pressure flip is the one that's kind of simple and basic. So, the last question is from Brandon, who says, I have a couple of questions I was wondering about. The first is about handrail tricks, actually. Back when I was in high school, there was this girl ad with Eric Koston doing a fandangle grind down a rail that looked pretty gnarly, almost fake. Did he land that trick? Was that in a video part? And why don't you see that trick very often? I actually Googled Eric Koston and found just the picture on his Wikipedia page. So this is pretty interesting. This trick is kind of famous just from being in the Tony Hawk games. But I don't think I had ever seen the ad until I actually looked it up from your question. So this is the ad that he's talking about. He's doing a one-footed, I guess it'd be switch one-footed nose grind is what it looks like he's doing there. It has Fandangle right in the ad, so it's not a made-up name when it became a special trick in Tony Hawk or anything. It's a legitimate ad that came out with the name that was supplied right there, and that's the Fandangle. And I had seen it in the Tony Hawk games. There was the Fandangle and Fandangle 2, and it was sort of like if you landed on the rail this way, you would kind of spin and then do like a switch one-footed crooked grind, which is pretty much exactly what the trick is. But the question is that a real trick? Did he actually land that? If you look close at the picture, it seems very unlikely. His balance is a little bit to the right of the rail. Doesn't look like he's centered, and the board's also kind of getting behind him, like he's starting to fall too far forward. So chances are it's not a land, but I was actually able to find an account from the photographer because this picture was taken by Lance Mountain, as it says right there in the ad. And this is what he says. Yeah, I used to shoot photos for the Girl Guys and was lucky enough to shoot it. He was trying a gnarly 180 switch crooks at Beverly Hills High, and what you see there with his legs like that was how he was getting out of it. I had a bunch of photos like that and thought they were funny, so I turned them into Rick and ran it with the Fandangle name on it. So what's actually happening there, it's not a switched one-footed nose grind. He's going up, half cab, the board hit, he's not fully rotated, but the board kind of starts to get away from him a little bit. So the board's straight, he's sideways, and then he is about to bail out. And that's what that is. And just the way that the timing of the picture worked, it looked like a real trick that he had actually done, but he did not actually land that. Although, Lance continues, I saw him actually make it once though. We were skating in Tampa and the crowd just started calling out for it. This was after the ad when everyone was talking about if it was real or not, but he did it. It wasn't on a rail, more like a small hubba, but he really did it. Locked in with 1 foot on, 1 foot off, and he landed all silly. People were freaking out. I'm not making this up. So Lance Mountain says that it happened. I'm sure that it happened. The trick is possible. It's doable. Eric Koston, well, would you consider Eric Koston to be the inventor of the Fandangle? Because he was probably the first to land it right there in that story, but he was trying a half cab crook, or a gnarly 180 crook, I guess. And so he hadn't done that trick on purpose. If he hadn't seen the pictures of him halfway through, he probably didn't know what it looked like. Probably didn't realize it looked like he was doing a one-footed nose grind. You know, Lance Mountain pretty much invented the trick in making it a thing. He named it, he had a picture of it, he made it public, and he caused Eric Koston to do it when people chanted for it. So that's kind of an interesting thing. They both kind of co-invented that, I guess, if I had to say. But I don't know. It is a real trick, just an extremely rare one that no one does. That's possibly only been landed a few times. But it is indeed a real trick. So that's it for questions this time. If you have more, go to radratvideo.com, fill out the form, just submit them from there. You can also do it from Twitter or Instagram, although I don't get on there quite as often. So submit your questions. But until next time, here's some more videos you can check out. I'll have a lot more coming in the future, but there's extensive archives to check out as well. Make sure you tap my logo to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.